All right. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. This is the first time we are seeing you all in this new year. And welcome to yet another webinar from the international chapter of All India Occupational Therapist Association. We are glad you're here and decided to spend your Saturday evening with us. Just a couple of housekeeping things before I turn the control over to Dr. Vijay Suple. First, obviously, please keep yourself on mute. And when it comes to camera, just FYI, this meeting is being recorded. And the recording of this webinar will also be made available on our website and stuff. So we want to see your faces. If you're comfortable, keep your camera on. And whenever you have some questions, feel free to enter your questions in the chat box. And we'll get to them at the end of the speaker's presentation. And also at the end, you will have an opportunity to unmute yourself and interact with the speaker and others. With that being said, for the certificate of attendance, I will be sharing a link that is called a feedback and certificate link on the chat box at the end of the speaker's presentation. So you can click this link and complete the Google form and check your email to see your certificate. And one other thing that I want to say is that we are putting in a lot of efforts to organize these webinars, and we have some great speakers lined up for the rest of the year. So please spread the word to your friends and colleagues. And another ask is that if you register, please attend, because we see a lot of registrations, but then on the day of the show, it dwindles to a small percentage. So we request you to, if you're registering, make sure that you have the commitment to attend. Another thing, when you register on the Google form, like using the Google link, at the end screen, you will have the meeting link right there. So soon after you register, the meeting link will be available. So you can copy, paste, and save it for yourself. In addition to that, we will be sending you one reminder closer to the registration date. So for today's webinar, the reminder with the meeting link went on January 18, and those who registered after January 18, it went a few hours before this webinar. So all the registrants got at least one email reminder from us, but don't rely on that. You have the meeting link right after you register. So you can actually copy the meeting link and put it on your calendar so that it reminds you on the day of the webinar. With that being said, I'm going to turn the control over to Dr. Vijay Suple to introduce our speaker today. Sir, please take over.
Thank you, Karthik. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending where you are located. And I am Vijay Suple. I'm the convener of international chapter of AIOTA. And on behalf of President of AIOTA and my committee members, I welcome you all. And this is our first webinar of this year, 2022. So happy New Year to everybody. Today we have, I'm waiting to see Dr. Bijlani. Actually, she should be here pretty soon. We have Dr. Shravan Shah. He doesn't need any introduction. He's a very well-known person in OT fraternity in India. And we have all my committee members. Dr. Ghazala is here, Dr. Narkani, Shruti Narkani, Dr. Jayashree is here, and Karthik, of course. Today's presenter is Dr. Anupam Lahiri, trained as an occupational therapist and currently working in USA. Anupam did his bachelor's in occupational therapy from Calcutta. And after that, he earned his master's degree in business administration from the University of Memphis. And he earned a certificate and fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executive and the board member of examination committee of American College of Healthcare Executives. Anupam has a lot of experience. He has been working in USA for 25 years as experience in healthcare and is currently the vice president of operations for Mohawk Valley Health System in central New York. It has got 2 acute care hospitals, 1 rehab hospital, 1 nursing home, and 45 outpatient clinics. At Mohawk Valley, Anupam oversees the facility and engineering, construction, food and nutrition, transportation, housekeeping, and cleaning, rehab services, So his job is to make sure that everything is working in order, like little small things to big things. So that is Anupam job and responsibility. Yeah. So Anup, we are really happy that he's here with us today, and I've been talking with Anupam back and forth for last 3 4 months. We became good friends now. Eh? Prior to joining Mohawk Valley, Anupam was a system administrator of neurosciences for 5 hospitals. And Anupam has taught management and the leadership classes at Reuters University, Arkansas State, and University of Memphis and Christian Brothers University. So he has written several articles also and published in OT Wake, OT Advance, Baker's Healthcare, and most recently in the Journal of Vascular Disease. Yeah, I read that article, Anupam. It was very nice of you to share that article with me. So for all of us, like for the budding OTs and the students, Anupam is a ideal example of what OT can do if you if you are determined to do whatever or chase your dream, you can do whatever you can do want to do. And Anupam is a shining example of that. So he's not only um, executive and a good speaker, but he's a mentor also for all of us. So Anupam, thanks for being with us. Thanks for giving your time. And I will request you to go ahead and do the presentation. Start the presentation, please. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for the kind introductions. Um, Definitely, it's great to see so many familiar faces, but at the same time, there are so many new faces over here. So really excited to do this. With this, basically my goal today is to discuss about how, as an occupational therapist, prepared me or helped me in my career in healthcare management side or administrative side or leadership side. So I want to discuss that um, that how some of the ways that we learn or we work in occupational therapy can prepare ourselves in the area of management, especially healthcare management. So so Karthik, can you share the slide, or do you want me to do that? Karthik, I cannot hear you.
Sir, so you are already sharing your screen. We could see the slide. So you want to navigate the slide, or do you want me to? Or then you need to pull down your screen sharing so that I can pull it up.
Okay, hold on. Let me see how I sharing my slide.
Yeah, we could see the title slide. So if you want to navigate to the next one and then see if that works, we are good.
Okay, let me. So I am in the frame right now. I'm not the Teams person, but let me see.
Click on
Okay,
top of the
how's that?
slide.
Yeah, got it.
Got it.
All right, so very good. So my subject today is occupational therapy concepts in healthcare management, and Vijay gave a very good introduction about some of the things that I've been working. So I've currently, as Vijay said, I'm the vice president of operations with Mohawk Valley Health System. It's a combined health system. It's a medium-sized health system with like 2 acute care hospital, a rehab hospital, and about 45 clinics and a nursing home in central New York. So what I'm going to do is that I'm not here to teach you about occupational therapy. Definitely, that's something that you probably already know. So I want to do a quick introduction on some of the things that is there to show that, hey, these are some of the things in the fundamentals of occupational therapy, the frameworks of occupational therapy, and then I will try to tie it up with how those frameworks and how those fundamentals are connected or helps with the healthcare and management context. So here, as you can see, the major core of our fundamentals is achieving health and well-being and participate in life through engagement in occupation or activities. That's our core, right? And the process is the education, the evaluation, intervention, and outcomes. And when we look at our domains, is occupations or activities, context, performance of the patient's performance skills, and client factors. So let me go a little bit more into this domain phase. If I can move my slide to the next one. Okay, here. So the OT process. So OT process, whenever we are talking about OT process, we mainly are talking about there's a therapist and client. Client can be a single client sometimes, it could be a group of clients, but it's a therapist and a client relationship. And the three major way of process is that we evaluate the patient, we work on the intervention, then we measure the outcomes. Again, evaluation part is that assessing a client to determine the baseline performance, identify deficit areas, develop goals for occupational therapy intervention. So for a second, what I want you to do is that forget that I'm talking about occupational therapy. So look at this evaluation side and say, assessing a client to determine baseline performance. Can I use the same concept in management and healthcare? And okay, so it's the same concept. We are always evaluating a client, or we are evaluating a business, and then identifying those deficit areas. We are creating goals. So as you can see that right from the very beginning of this OT process, the evaluation thing that we are doing to a client, we can take the same concept and take it over to the other side of management and business. And this is what, how as I progress, as I move on with my presentation, this is how I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about, specifically about like how this is connected and how that can be used from one side to the other side. Same thing on the intervention side, implementation of occupational therapy plan of care, strategies, and used to bring about the desired outcomes. And then we definitely look, when you look at the outcomes, we see how are we measuring these outcomes, right? How are we measuring these outcomes? So we'll be talking a little bit more about it. So as I just mentioned about evaluation, when we're looking at the evaluation, our first goal is that it's not about what as a therapist we are trying to do, right? It's about what our client wants and needs, and focus on our part on the needs of the clients or wants of the client, and then plan our focus our evaluation piece on it, creating the plan of care based on that. So then we look at what the client can do, which is the assessment part, and what has done is a prior level of function. Then looking at what are the supports and barriers to health and well-being, and what's the participation. So think about it. What is the participation? What's the family support, or friend support, social support? So you look at it the same way as you're looking at a business side. You look at that, what kind of support structure the business has. So and the key and the key piece on the evaluation. I think so. Evaluation occurs during the initial and all subsequent interactions with the client. So that's the key piece, is that sometimes we forget that we do an evaluation and we think, okay, my evaluation is done, then I'm going to keep treating the patients for, like, say, 10 sessions or 15 sessions or 20 sessions. The concept is that every single time as a therapist we are seeing the patients, we are constantly evaluating the patient, making changes to our plans and goals. The same way when we're working with the business, with the venture, with the client, it's like we do an initial eval, and then at the same time as we're working with them, we continuously, we are tweaking, we are changing, we are moving with our plan of care. In the intervention side, I'm not going to go too much detail in that. It's basically services provided by the occupational therapy practitioners in collaboration with clients to facilitate engagement in occupation-related health well-being. And then the goal is the achievement of the established goal. and consistent with the various service delivery models, right? In the PEDS, it will be different. The psych model will be different. Gerontology model will be different. So it will be different depending on where are you providing the care, and of course, the type of models we going to use. The main goal approaches to the intervention includes create, promote, establish, or restore, maintain, modify, and prevent. And the outcomes. Again, it starts from the occupational processes, occupational therapy processes, and how we establish the evaluation part, what kind of frameworks we are using, and the most important thing is how are we measuring it, and the end outcome, are we using the same measures that we used during doing our evaluation? The simple as like, hey, if I measure someone's strength with manual muscle testing, are we using the same concept when we are checking the outcomes? So let me share some of the occupational therapy frames of reference, and then I'll talk to you about some of the frames of references, how some of the frames of references I personally use in different areas of management and business processes. So what are the frames of reference? They provide us a perspective through which to see a client or view a client and look at their needs and guide therapists to the process of providing services right from the evaluation part all the way to the discharges, right? And some of the common ones, definitely there are a lot more, but some of the common ones, acquisitional, biomechanical, cognitive, compensatory, developmental, dynamic, ecology of human performance, information processing, my favorite Kawa River model, model of human occupation, motor learning, neural development, and sensory integration, social participation, I mean, psychosocial, there's so many of them. So I'm just giving a quick example of some of the common ones. So, so recently I was in Amritsar area and had an opportunity to go to Wagah border. I just wanted to share this. So I was able to take this picture at the Wagah border where our soldiers, our Jawans from the Border Security Force, doing the beating retreat with the Pakistani army. And this is a very famous area. I'm sure that many of you have already seen this, or at least seen the pictures or the videos of our Jawans, how they perform. Is a beautiful, ceremony. If you have not seen this, I would highly recommend that we all should go there sometime and watch this. So as you can see this, if you can see the Jawans, when you see them, that the way they do their marching, the way they do their activities around there is phenomenal. It's very different than that you or me can do, or to the matter of fact, many other Jawans around in other areas will be able to do. So I'm going to talk about like one of the frames of references we talked about is acquisitional. Acquisitional or specific, where you acquire specific skill or appropriate behavior required for an optimal performance. So if I go dig a little bit deeper into that, you can look at it. It emphasizes the use of teaching, learning, a process, and activity analysis to achieve the goal, which is the acquisition of specific skills or appropriate behavior required for the optimal performance. And example could be like improving grasping skills for participation in activity, daily living. So here, if you look at it, so when these Jawans are included for this or trained for this show, these Jawans are like probably 6'5", 6'7". So you can see that they are able to rest their legs to at least 6+ Not everybody can do it, right? So you have to work on, like, this is not something that everybody can do. So you have to train them, retrain them, acquire them. Think about the hamstring, think about the quadriceps, think about the balance. So basically, you're utilizing your concepts of frames of reference from acquisitional point to even get train these people for this ceremony. So just because we use occupational therapy frames of references for one context, how can you take that context and see things in a different perspective? So next one, well, I'm talking about biomechanical. Again, is a therapeutic exercises used to improve range of motion, strength, and endurance. Again, which leads to improvement in the functional abilities. One of the examples is improving finger strength to assist with buttoning and buttoning. Pretty simple, very commonly used probably as a therapist. No matter which area we are working on, this is one of the most common frames of references we all probably use. So here is a picture of me trying to learn golf swings. So if you can, so it's simple, but at the same time, if you look at that, in order to improve this, improve my range, I have to improve my core strength, my shoulder strength, arm strength, focusing on my range of motion. The joint mobilization, definitely when you're playing even a game like as a slow game of golf, when you're playing for 18 holes, which takes about 3.5 hours, you're focusing on the endurance, walking over the whole places, then of course the balance, and also a quick example of how the biomechanical frames of reference assist or help in this area. Talking about the compensatory frame of reference, patients who will not regain functional skills can compensate by using adaptive equipment or techniques to complete tasks in a different way. Like in Parkinson's disease, we're using wetted utensils or any other adaptation. So, so one of my very good friend and junior in my college is Ramesh Dubey. I mean, some of you may already know him. He's a prosthetic orthotic engineer in Memphis, Tennessee. I used to be in Memphis, Tennessee before. So he had designed this prosthesis for this child who is able to play soccer. So that is an example of surgery frame of reference. Then again, one of the especially in the peds area, one of the frames of references. Most of the OTs, PTs, anybody's working there will probably use is the developmental. Once again, it's a sequential and behavior primarily influenced by extent to which an individual has mastered and integrated the previous stages. So looking at some of my notes again, this is from so this is showing a child from a developmental perspective from 1 to 3 months to 12 to 18 months. And there are definitely different phases of it. But just if you're looking at if I'm focusing on the movement or the physical part, as a child, sequentially, I mean, between 1 to 3 months, you are lifting head, then 4 to 6 months, you are rolling over, then followed by rolling both sides, crawling, pull to stand, walk, holding things. So the concept here that I will talk about in the letter is this sequential movement of mastering one aspect and how to move to the following or the activities or on the skills. Then this is actually a picture I took in Madison County of New York. It's actually a Chittenango River, which is right. The picture is like so. I'm standing next to the fall. The water is flowing through there and shows a beautiful view during I think this was early fall. it tells a simple story of so what is Kawa River model? Kawa River is a Japanese an occupational therapist from Japan designed this Kawa River model. It tells a simple story of our life with a metaphor of a river. River is Kawa in Japanese. At any stage in life, we can refer to the Kawa model to become more self-aware of who we are, what our challenges and goals and wants, and where we are going. A little bit more about the Kawa River model is that the river is a metaphor for life here from birth to death. Water is one's energy or flow. Rocks are the negative circumstances in life that you must work around. The driftboats as your personal assets and liabilities that can either assist you or get in your way, depending on whether they're clog up on the rocks or knock the rocks aside. And the walls and the floors of the river are the social and physical environment, and they impact the flow in the same way that the walls and floors of a river, real river impacts and flows. Such a beautiful concept. In this, you are able to appreciate the client and the context, identify each component of the river metaphor and how it might be impacting the flow. Prioritize the issues that are most important to the client, assess the focal points, intervention or acting upon the plans discussed in step 4, evaluating the results. Let's talk about one of my favorite subjects is activity analysis. So again, we all know that that's a systemic evaluation of an activity to determine its suitability for a particular client or intervention. It is the breaking down of an activity into its smallest component. So if I take the activity analysis of ironing, important thing to look at it is that what type of iron are you using? Are you using the iron the gentleman is using in the picture, or our typical iron that we use at home? Because that will determine how to prepare for the ironing, right? If I'm using the iron this gentleman is using, then we have to think about, like, do I get charcoal? And where do I get charcoal from? How heavy it is, or how I'm holding it is. So it will be a little bit different than the iron, definitely iron you using at home. Then the electricity versus coal, the electric cord, all this comes to, so you're looking at all those things. The space, how much space you would need, and the type of actions and performance skills. Are you doing it in standing? Are you doing it in sitting? Do you have enough balance for it? What is how is your toes or knees or hips, elbows, fingers? What is the position of them? What kind of strength you need for the different types of irons you're using? How are you positioning? How are you positioned? How much you're flexing? How much you're extending? And how is the rotation working? How cognitively, what kind of cognitively is it? Well, this is a complex performance, definitely from the cognitive perspective. So what level of cognition you need in order to iron safely, right? So as an occupational therapist, we are studying all those things to go on. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk about some of this activity analysis of breaking it down into smaller pieces, and how we sometimes in business and management you utilize the concept. Very similar. So one of the ways, so that was a basic form for OT activity analysis. Is you can use the same form for a different activity analysis. I mean, you can take the form, look at an activity, break it down, like, hey, what are the basic things you need? You write it down, you plan it, and you look at the precautions, you look at the compensation, and then you create the activity analysis. It's very similar to like when you're looking at building a business or building a process. or creating or working with a project, you have exactly the same concept that we use. So this is another great example of how we use our OT activity analysis from one aspect to the other. So I'm going to talk about activity analysis in an industry settings. Again, this is a model by one of the professors in business, or Mary McMahon. Is an activity analysis is an assessment of a company or a workplace which is designed to gather information about the activities engaged in there and ways in which they can potentially be made more effective or valuable. Think about it. We just talked about activity analysis for the occupational therapist, right? Now you're using very similar concept and putting it in the business world. Right? So if I, as a student, if I read my OT activity analysis, if I practice OT activity analysis now as working in healthcare management, I can pretty much take the same very similar concept from there and try to use it there. So in the activity analysis architecture, we look at like who, when, where, why, what, right? The five W's. Where we're looking at the organization, the occasion, the motivation, why we're doing it, then also looking at how we are doing it, resources it takes, what type of communications it requires, how are we measuring the quality, or how, what type of quality is improved by that, and definitely that was the risk, the side effects, the reversion. So factors that influence the performance in a project or a business, as a culture or the beliefs, the patterns, standards, social expectation, the environment where we are doing this. It could be very broader as a physical terrain or building, or it could be very limited to the space. Definitely the social part of it, the personal area where we look at the age and gender and socioeconomic status, spiritual inspiration, and so as you are looking at this, as I'm looking at these factors, and the same thing as an occupational therapist, when you are looking at a patient in a holistic way, we have to consider the culture of the patient, the beliefs of the patient. So that is one of the very importantly, especially when you are working in an environment where you're treating or seeing clients from different faiths, different culture, different beliefs. How are you approaching how you are planning your goals for the patient into that context, right? So it's important to look into those areas the same way when you are working in a business environment, based on if you're trying to establish, if you're looking at a project or a business for, say, I'm just saying a Jewish business could be maybe very different than working with an Anglo-Saxon business, or somebody with the faith of Christianity, or the same way, depending on the cultural backgrounds it will bring with somebody from one area to other areas. Then the activity analysis for the business process. Again, when we're looking at a business process, some of the steps we do is the examination of the process steps within a selected area of the organization. The analysis determines the following items: which process steps are being executed. That we focus on the process. We focus on the personal, like what kind of, how many people we have, how many people we will need to have a business set up or start, or what will be the goal to how many people we will need to add in order to move forward when we go to the next level. The amount of time required to complete each step, right? Moving from one level of business to other level of business. the amount of resources consumed by each step. Then again, how are we measuring? How are you measuring the steps that if it, whatever we are doing, are we able to measure the success? The same concept that way we measure our in occupational therapy, we set our goals, we set the goals, and then we measure that how are we progressing towards the goal, and the value produced by each step, right? Even if you don't, sometimes you plan, you start working with a patient or a client, you have lofty goals, and you may not be able to achieve your goals, but then you are able to achieve those partial goals. Sometimes achieving those partial goals can be very helpful or important for the patient. So another thing that I will talk about is the accountability ladder that we often use in leadership. And I'm going to show you remind you some of the examples that we talked in occupational therapy as we move forward. So as you look at the accountability ladder, it starts from the the first step of the accountability ladder is the unawareness. When as a leader you don't know what's happening. Thus, usually the second step is that this is for the crisis. Like in a crisis situation, first you don't know about the crisis. Then once you know about the crisis, the common tendency to blame others. Then comes the excuse phase, that why you cannot do it. Then we talked about the wait and hope that it's going to go away. Then once we acknowledge it, then we are able to understand, and then only we can own the problem or the issues, and then we can find solutions, and then we make it happen. So they call it that in the accountability ladder, it's divided into two phases. One is the victim behavior, and one is the accountable behavior. Victim behavior is that you blame the whole world that why you cannot do something, and then once you are able to acknowledge, then you are able to find solutions for it. So as we across the world, across the globe, we are fighting this pandemic, and I will kind of go a little bit about how, as leaders across the globe, how did we use this accountability ladder to move forward? So the first step was the unawareness. As you remember, around 2019, December of 2019, that was probably the first time most of people learned about a COVID-19 variant detected in China. At that time, most of the other countries were unaware of the magnitude of the situation and mostly remained in denial. So that was the very first phase of unawareness. And as then, think about leaders, think about ourselves, think about people. The second thing was to blame others. China did it, or this people did it, or that people. So just start working on the blame. Once the virus started to spread, people and leaders from different countries started blaming others for the spread, right? Then comes the phase of excuses. We cannot solve it because nobody knew it would be this bad, or this will be this big, or we need so much of oxygen here, or we will be needing that. So it starts with the excuses. I'm not saying the excuses are not valid. The excuses can be valid, but still they're excuses. Then the phases of wait and hope, that just the way it came, it's going to go away very soon. So let's just wait for the summer, wait for this spring, wait for this. COVID-19 is going to go away just the way it came. So expecting miracles to take care. So once that is done, once those steps are done, once as a leader, we are able to acknowledge a crisis, able to realize a problem, then only we can actually move on, trying to figure out the reality of the situation, and we empower and climb up the ladder and take the ownership of the problem. Then only we are ready to solve it, or find solutions. That's when, once we did that, then now some of the phases might be, I mean, some of the steps may happen together concurrently. Timely testing and design plans to reduce the spread, wearing masks, having lockdowns, having vaccinations, having medications. So all those things started, we were trying to find solutions to the problem. And the final phase is to make it happen. When we find problems, when we find solutions, then we are able to operationalize it. How are we going to distribute the vaccine? How are we going to distribute the mask? How are we going to distribute the testing system? So that way we can design and work on it. Now, caution side is in this stage, there are often times you can fall off the ladder, and then you may have to find alternate solutions and own it. So this is almost if you think about this, all to me, this accountability ladder is very much like our sequential developmental status that we go through. We talked about in the piece, like, you know, going from one level to the other level. The question is that for the child who is going from from rolling to crawling to sit up to pull to stand. The question is that how soon the child can move from one level to another level, right? Especially if it's a developmentally challenged child, how they're going to move. So the same way here, as a leader, how soon the leaders can move from the phase of unawareness, blame, excuse to acknowledge. How fast they can move from those steps. That is the key. That is the challenge, and this is a great way of looking at it. That how the concepts and basics of one of our frames of reference helps or able to see utilize the same concept as an accountability ladder in leadership. All right. Then you know, we talked about the accusation where we talked about the Jawans of the Wagah border. A very similar concept is about think about as a business accusations. We're looking at the corporate transactions where one company is purchasing a portion of the other company. Why? Because they want to add value to something they don't have. So the same way the focusing is that acquiring something new or different to get something. So acquisitions are typically made in order to take control of or build on the target company's strengths and capture synergies. The goal of acquisition is to gain. The gain can be access to new market, growth, or the growth in the current market. So again, if you go back, looking at the frame of reference, you can see the similarity that we have seen in the acquisition model of frame of reference. Another thing that if you look at this business evaluation and for a therapist, if I don't look at like what are the different frames, it's very similar to like an evaluation form used by medical professionals or therapists. And it also there's a way to measure like, hey, how do you score it, and how do you put the comments next to it. So the evaluation process for a business. So when I'm working on creating a new project or creating a business plan, my knowledge and strength working as an OT, learning the occupational evaluation process, looking at the clients, some of the things that in the business evaluation, what we look at, I mean, we check the market analysis, the risk strategies, cash flows, income statement, balance sheet, funds it requires, and the shareholders. So these are some of the things we are looking at. At the same time, we're looking at the history and the present condition of an organization in order to plan. But think of it from an evaluation perspective of a patient, that how you assessing the current condition of the patient. You're looking at the problem of the patient. You're looking at what the patient says and utilizing a very similar concept from an OT evaluation and occupational therapy evaluation. It could be physical therapy evaluation, could be speech therapy evaluation, doesn't matter. So using the same concepts and building on it, checking, testing where they stand now and where they can be, then creating the goals based on that. So this is another tool as an occupational therapist, how we have utilized one tool to help in the other area. Another discussion I will talk about is the time management, and you know, as this is very important that as we are working in our area, especially even as a student, as a therapist, as a professional, as a managed professional, the importance of how do we manage. There's only so many hours in a day, and how do we work on managing the time effectively to work. So why do we need to have a time management? The reason is that, number one, of course, the main reason is there's only so many hours in a day that you can is available for you, right? So you need to utilize, how do you utilize that time effectively? So effective time management leads to effective leadership. The benefits are delivering work on time, provide better quality, more productive time, much less procrastination, less stress and anxiety, improved quality of life, more opportunities and career growth, more time for leisure and recreation. And the techniques are you have to be intentional. Yeah, always keep a to-do list. You cannot do everything in your mind. You have to sometimes put it down on a piece of paper or somewhere to make sure that you're checking it out. Prioritize or rank your task. Focus, manage your distractions, be structured, block your time as you're working, be self-aware, and track your time. I'm going to go a little bit more on this time management area. So this is Matt Cole designed this quadrants, 4 quadrants of time management. So as we are looking at any activities, either they're urgent or non-urgent, or it could be in between the scale of urgency to the scale of non-urgency. At the same time, there's a scale of important to not important or unimportant. So so as the role here is definitely the urgent, non-urgent piece, which is basically your 80% of your work, and then the column is important to non-important again. So this is how you're supposed to distribute your time, your energy, your efforts that takes. So when you're looking at most of your urgent work takes about 20% of the time. Non-urgent work takes 80% of the time. So it's more time is spent for non-urgent work. Think about it as a therapist, like all the documentation you have to do, all the other things you have to do, call this, call the other people. Those are non-urgent, but takes most of your time and energies and effort. And how we plan for it. The same thing is that when you're looking at is this important phase and the non-important phase. So the way we look at it is that, hey, you take anything and put it in the, hey, is it crisis? If it is it important? Yes, it's important. If it is important, is it a pressing problem? Is this like firefighting, reworking, deadlines? Yes. Then they are on your left box, and that needs to be is urgent and important. So you have to focus on it. So typically, most of your those should be very less and few, and it should not take too long to do them. And probably they say about 5% of your time should be spent doing those crisis management. Then Then yes, then the second thing is that it's important but not urgent. That's most of your preparation, planning, uh, prevention, relationship building, personal development. Those are important but not urgent. It can wait, and it can wait. So, but it needs to be done, right? Then there are some urgent things, but those are distractions. The emails that the text we get, the emails that we get that we have to answer right away is urgent. So you have to really take care of it. Some of the meetings that we get into, those walk-ins and dealing with the situations, having issues, having problems, again, those are urgent but not important, and that takes about 15% of your time. And then the phase is that it's non-important and non-urgent, like some calls, some emails, some entertainment, some wasting time. So we call it the waste. So again, I'm using this concept of time management to plan when you're working with your client, how you're prioritizing your goals, your plans, how you're working with them, how the patient is working with you, how the client is able to work with you, what is important to them, what is urgent to them, what is non-urgent to them, what is important, non-important to them, what is a distraction for them, what's a waste for them, and how to prioritize and focus their activities or goals or plans based on this concept of time management, or the quadrants by Matt Cole. So another thing that talk about is delegation is one of the most important thing as we are working as a leader, as an established therapist, as a plan, that when leaders delegate certain tasks to others, they become free to focus on higher value activities and use their time more productively. We know some leaders, and they're people that they want to do everything on their own. They want to get everything done. All the goals need to be met. So you're planning on everything, right? And sometimes you just cannot do everything. You have to focus on then you have to delegate to the right people to do it for you. Pick the right person, clarity of delegation, weight and how much, setting the expectation, resources and tools, timely feedback, encourage people. Think about it. When you're working with a patient, the patient is only coming to you maybe 3 times a week, 2 times a week, maybe 1 time a week. You can spend only so much time with the patient. The question is that how do you delegate the work, that the exercises, the activities that they need to work on, and focusing on that piece. So are you involving a family member? Are you involving a friend? Are you asking the person to do so much? How are you delegating your work, your plans and goals, and putting it into the patient's work, or the family, or to the friends that they will be working with, or socializing, or living with. So it's kind of important to kind of see that as a leader, as a manager, how we delegate, taking the same concept as we are working with our patients or clients. How are we able to delegate those back to them? Next, one of the other very important concept is more common these days is the SMART goals. Talk about these SMART goals. What are SMART goals? SMART goals are they are specific, they are measurable, they're attainable. These goals are realistic, and they're time bound. Specific, the goal should be very precise. Measurable, the goal should be quantifiable, and progress should be easy to track. Achievable, the goal should be attainable and not unrealistic. The goals should be relevant, and goals should be time bound. So these are the concepts of SMART goals, right? So I will Pardon?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about one smart OT goal, or an example of a smart occupational OT goal. Say the patient or the client will be able to eat with standby assist from min assist 75% of the times with the aid of an assistive device by 2 weeks to decrease the dependency on caregivers. This will be achieved through daily strengthening and coordination exercise. A simple, common goal that if you're working in hospital environment, nursing home environment, or with the client, you probably will use a smart goal similar to this, not exactly like this, maybe something similar to this. So here, let's look at how this smart goal is. Is this goal specific? Yes, this goal is statement specific because it defines the patient's problem, the objective, the strategy of completing the goal and time, right? So it's a very specific goal. Is it measurable? Are we able to measure this goal? Yes, we clarified that 75% of the time, or 3/4 successful attempt of eating with a standby assist is a unit of measurement. Now, is this goal attainable? Well, we think it's unattainable because the patient was min assist before. Now we want to move the patient standby assist. So again, yes, we think it's min assist. Now, this would maybe difficult to attain if the level of if the patient was max assist, and we are trying to be standby assist in 2 weeks, depending on the scenario, it could be unattainable at that time. But here, looks like it's more attainable because what's the level of the patient right now. And then the relevancy of it. Why do you want to do this goal? Completing this goal moves the patient closer to their core objective, becoming less dependent on their caregiver. So it's relevant. And is it time bound? Yes. The plan is to complete this goal in 2 weeks. So again, it is very much a time-bound goal. So this is an example of a smart OT goal, right? So I'm going to talk about a smart goal in general. It can be used in business world, self-planning, project planning. So while I talked to Vijay some 2-3 months back, then when Vijay said that, hey, I really would like you to do a presentation for this platform, for this group or for this team. So I was say I started this presentation about 4 weeks back. So how do I write a smart goal for that? So my goal could be, I'm going to present a 32-slide presentation on occupational therapy concepts in healthcare management in 4 weeks, finishing on January 22nd, which is today. And I'll do this by writing 8 slides per week. Let's look at it and see that, is this a smart goal? Is it specific? Yes, I said that I'm going to present a 32-slide presentation. Now, again, as I'm planning on it, I had an idea that how long the presentation needs to be and how many slides I want to do. I may not have the exact number of slides. It may change a little bit. It's okay if it changes a little bit here and there, depending on as I am evaluating, as I'm moving forward, as I'm evaluating, I may change it a little bit. The same way, if I'm working with a patient, I may have to change my goals a little bit there, right? So specific, yes, and I knew that I will be writing on OT concepts and healthcare management. Is it measurable? Yes. I want to write 32 slides. Again, can it vary a little bit? Again, it will still be measurable even if I had gone 30 slides or 40 slides. It's still measurable, yes. Now, is it achievable? So I give myself 4 weeks to write this, right? So that way I can work on the research side, I can work on the designing side, I can work on the planning side. So I give myself, so that way when I'm working full time, I can carve out some time on the weekends, on the evenings to work on some aspects of it. So I can pace myself to do it over a period of time. So that's why, yes, it is achievable because I can probably do this. Is it relevant? Yes. I mean, I think this is an exciting opportunity. It's a great opportunity to share some of the things that I've been working on to my fellow therapists, as at the same time to the students. I've always supported as aspirant students, so absolutely it's relevant. Now it's a time bound. Yes, it is time bound because the goal is to do the presentation on January 22nd, which is today. So if you look at it, the goals, the SMART. So it starts with being specific, being measurable, being achievable, being relevant, being time bound. So the concept of SMART goals in business is exactly the same concept as we are creating the SMART goals for occupational therapy. Now, with this, I mean, so this is a beautiful picture of upstate mountain that I took a couple of weeks back. So with this, that ends the presentation that I had planned for this event, and I'll take this and go stop this. Can I stop this presentation, or how do I do it? Let me see.
Yeah, just stop sharing. If you go to the share content screen again, you will see a rectangle with an X. If you click it, it will stop sharing.
Okay.
Yep. Got it. So I just saw a couple of comments there, but I'm not seeing any questions. So participants, this is your opportunity to ask any questions to our speaker. So we can accommodate maybe it's almost an hour. I mean, like it's since we started. So yeah, we can still answer a couple of questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask or post it in the chat box.
May I just, rather than posing a question, may I just put a comment as such?
Yes, please.
So just a thank you to Dr. Anupam Lahiri, but what I really enjoyed today is how beautifully you've taken every aspect of occupational therapy principles and shown the versatility of each one of the skills we gain and how you've applied in the management context. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that's just a comment I wanted to give.
Thank you very much. And as I am working in the field of healthcare and management, I cannot be more thankful that I actually went to occupational therapy school. And like when I went there, I had no idea what occupational therapy was at that time, but that's how it helped me to where I am today, and I'm working on a daily basis. So yes, thank you for the comment.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to thank Mr. Anupam Lahiri that the time management slide that you shared is something that every one of us can utilize in our life. I mean, I looked at it and I like, oh, this is what I need. So I'm taking note of that. I took a screenshot. I'm sorry, I mean, I did that, but this is something that I'm going to use on a daily basis.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to post the feedback and certificate link in the chat box, so please look for it. And Vijay sir, Dr. Bijlani is here, so if you want to invite her to render the vote of thanks, it'll be great.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Anupam. It was a wonderful presentation, and like we discussed before, you made it so easy for the students to understand. That's one thing, and all the practitioners also. So, and we time management is one of the things, like Bridge said. You know, it is one of the things that we struggle every day in the western part of the world, basically. So, thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation. and we had a lot of participants actually. So it was very well received, I would say. Now I am requesting Dr. Bijlani, madam, to come and extend a vote of thanks to everybody. Mr. Bijlani, madam.
Yes, thank you, Vijay sir. I just want to appreciate the way Dr. Anupam Lahiri has presented it. I wish I also would have done my MBA and it would have really worked. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, the way you explained it and what someone said, that each and every slide was helping me that, oh, I wish I could have done this way also. No, I'm going to do it that way, because I never had that idea that so beautifully you have done it. I tell you, I know I feel that I also still go for MBA and I use those business management strategies during your clinical, even clinical work or administrative work as a dean, as a what you said, what is priority, which is urgent, which is not urgent, and all those things. I tell you, it really helps, when you are doing your administrative work, or even as a teacher, as a clinician, for each and every aspect. I feel it is very, very important. Thanks, Dr. Vijay Supple, for organizing such type of lectures, which is, I'm sure, is going to be useful for each and every occupational therapist. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and doing a wonderful job. And this is on behalf of All India Occupational Therapists Association and the international branch. I know the international branch of IOTA is doing lots and lots of, they are not only arranging the lectures, but they are promoting the scholarships and they're promoting publications and all those things. Wonderful. So I should thank all the participants who have attended in large number. Thanks to IOTA, thanks to Vijay Supple, who is a convener of this branch, and thanks to everyone, and special thanks to Dr. Anupam Lahiri. So thank you all, and I'm sure I wish there are more and more such different type of lectures Dr. Vijay Supple you be organizing. Thanks to Dr. Karthik Mani also for inviting me, and Dr. Vijay Supple. Yeah, I can see Dr. S.L. Rai also. So yeah. How are you? Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm sure Dr. Karthik Mani is going to conclude now this session. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bijlani.
I just realized that I'm muted. So thank you so much, madam, for rendering the vote of thanks. And thanks once again for the excellent presentation, Dr. Lahiri. And thanks for everyone who joined our session today. So in a couple of months, we'll be coming back with another webinar. And I think the speaker is here, but I'm not going to reveal the secret now. Complete the Google form to get the certificates. And if you have any trouble, please email international chapter iota@gmail.com or just email me. I'll help. All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye. Until I see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.